Yes, this is exactly what you see in the title. It is a live mini topics on my mind. Basically, it's kind of half the topics that I would talk about, on a regular basis if I was off, and at home. So I figured, why not give you guys a bit of a mini version before I do maybe a longer version Sunday, depending on the situation there, because I am off on Sunday. But yeah, just a couple of items I wanted to talk about because, I know one of them I'm going to talk about. You see it in the description, mostly deals with what I'm going through and how I get to work, but it kind of does relate to anybody that has dealt with or is going to be dealing with a similar situation. The other ones, of course, are very interesting because one of them just broke today, or within the past 24 hours. And the other one is something I've talked about before, but still to a lot of fans on social media, like you go to Twitter and you still, read about people not, very cool with this, even a decade plus later after it happened. So let's talk about the first topic and get this out of the way here. And I do apologize if I have to move the camera around a little bit because I might have to connect my charger because my phone right now is at 37%. So just letting you know what could occur very soon. And I do apologize for any background noises. There's a lot of trucks and stuff driving by, and a train's going to be coming by and stuff like that. So I do apologize for that. But let's do this topics on my mind, shall we? Now let's get to our first topic, which is basically news that broke this morning, or within the past 24 hours, that the YouTube CEO, her name is Susan Wojcik, I think, or Susan Wojcik, Wojcik, if you will, Susan Wojcik, who's been with Google apparently since its inception, and has had various titles to her name, is stepping down. And the person taking her place, I think his name is Neil Mullins, or just Neil, if you will. And apparently he's taking her place, but not exactly as CEO. Apparently, the title they're giving him is something along the lines of Senior Vice President, and something else that goes along with that title. What that means, though, for the future of YouTube is anybody's guess. From what I understand, because I was listening to Clownfish TV talk about this, I was listening to what Neon and Geeky Sparkles had to say, and apparently Susan Wojcik is going to stick around. She is stepping down to focus more on her health, her family, and some passion projects that she has in mind. But basically, she's going to remain until everything is pretty much transitionally adjusted. Like, in other words, help Neil into his new position, his new responsibilities, as well as help others in other departments get used to the change and things like that. So, yeah, apparently, she's going to be sticking around to do that, and then afterwards, she's going to part ways. She's going to go off and focus more on her family, focus more on her health, as well as, focus on these passion projects, which some, like Geeky Sparkles would say, is just code for they have nothing really else planned out just yet for past YouTube and all that, or past the current career job that they have. So she apparently is going to be focusing more on that. But for the time being, as she's stepping down, she's going to help, like I said, the new person adjust themselves to their position as Senior Vice President, basically the new person in charge for right now, as well as help others, adjust to it in other departments, like what certain changes, may come to those departments and everything because of her stepping down. Now, apparently, she has been through a lot, since she became the CEO of YouTube, of course, through various, momentous and not so momentous moments and everything, like a lot of backlash for certain proposed, ideas and plans and stuff when it came to YouTube and everything. having to, speak directly with the YouTube content creators when certain situations came up that basically felt like it was going to put them, out of a, out of a hobby, out of a side job, if you will, side, like a side financial gain and stuff like that. So she's been through a lot, like, even through the various times where it's like YouTube could fall under certain things, the Actica, proposal, the SOPA proposal, and so on. So yeah, she's been through a lot when it comes to YouTube and everything. And as you can see in the background, there's a train going by. I told you there'd be a train going by and all that. But she, like I said, she's been through a lot, and apparently, I guess, she feels like the time is right to step down. Now, some people have said that it's kind of ironic that the House jurisdiction passed something against, tech companies and, stuff like that, that painted tech companies and the CEOs and things in a negative light, and that it's kind of ironic that she's doing this, right after that, that settlement of that ruling came into place. But whether or not that's true, or whether or not, it does tie into it, maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. Now, what's interesting about her stepping down as the CEO of YouTube is, like I said, the Neil guy that's going to be taking over, he's had various titles in YouTube and in Google and all that, just like her. But what's interesting is the one title that he has that's got some people concerned, even Clownfish TV, and that is the title of Trust and Safety. And whether or not that's going to play a factor in him as the new head person of YouTube right now, for the time being. Like, will it play a factor in YouTube becoming even worse when it comes to its censorship and safety protocols and everything, while still trying to appease YouTube content creators out there without really ruffling the feathers? And there are some that feel that yes, it is going to get worse. Now look, nobody can blame them for feeling that way, because of course there have been some things that have happened throughout YouTube's run that apparently they're trying to fix, because they've been called out for it and its nonsensicalness, like the swearing issue and everything, and other stuff as well. So, whether or not this guy being appointed as basically senior vice president, basically the quote-unquote CEO, the new CEO, even though he doesn't have that title, that's how some people still view it, basically the new person in charge, whether or not this Neil guy's positioning as the head of trust and safety is going to play an influence along with other things, we'll have to see. Now, I like to try to look on the positive side of things here, and I look at the fact that, yeah, this Susan lady, has been through a lot. She's I guess you can say she's a very polarizing figure. She's a very polarizing figure when it comes to YouTube and content creation and everything. And there are a lot of folks, believe it or not, that are actually glad she's stepping away. She's leaving, she's stepping down and everything, and basically handing off the position to somebody else, whether or not this Neil guy, will be for better or for worse. Now, what's interesting, though, is the fact that, as some people pointed out, he's a senior vice president. He's not a CEO. And whether or not that means they're getting rid of the CEO title and they're just going to go with senior vice president because maybe Google overall is going to take over the responsibilities of YouTube. The CEO of Google is going to say, hey, I'll take charge of it. Or maybe they want to see things play out, during this transitional period before maybe appointing somebody as CEO that, I'm assuming, if they do that, they're hoping everybody, not just those, at Google and YouTube, can agree upon, but the content creators as well can agree upon as being someone that will do just good, will do just great and fine and just in that position. But again, we don't know if that's what they'll do. We don't know if they're holding off on naming a new CEO until the transitional period is done, or they're just going to oust that title entirely, and the Google CEO is going to be the one, running everything overall. We don't know. But yeah, this lady, the Susan Wojcik lady, is stepping down, and apparently, again, like I said, the reason being is because she wants to focus on her family, she wants to focus on her health, and she's got passion projects that she also wants to focus on and I guess accomplish and get done and stuff like that. But while she's getting ready to do that, to step down, she's going to help the new person, Neil, adjust to his position as senior vice president, kind of taking on the responsibilities that she had, as well as help the other YouTube departments kind of adjust to this transitional period of change as well. And maybe what I'm assuming is unless Google decides this CEO is going to be in charge of everything from here on in, and they don't need a CEO of YouTube, my assumption is that this is all going to take place, and everything transitions smoothly in a way that's beneficial for everyone. I think that's when Google will name a new YouTube CEO that everybody, including content creators, can agree is a just and fair choice. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the Susan Wojcik lady is pretty much hanging it up and saying she's done, and she's going to move on to other things, move on to focus on her family, her health, and also her passion projects that she has in mind. So yeah, all I can say is best of luck to her, and hopefully whatever she does in the future, the controversy that's followed here at YouTube, or that she built up at YouTube, doesn't follow her into her post career. So that's all I'm going to say on that first topic, guys. And now at 12 minutes and essentially 15 seconds, let's get on to the second topic here. Again, it focuses more on what I'm dealing with, and when it comes to my transportation to get to work. And excuse me, guys, my battery's getting low for a second. Let me do something real quickly. I had a feeling that was going to happen. Hold on for a sec. While I dig out the battery here for a moment. Let me just put this down for a moment, guys. Hold on for a sec. Like I said, I had a feeling this was going to happen. So hold on for a sec. But yeah, the second topic here is I switch things out here, try to get the battery connected and everything so that we can continue on here. But like I was saying, the second topic we're going to talk about here, just briefly, there we go, just making sure everything is connected and everything, making sure everything is connected. But the second topic we're going to talk about here briefly, and I do apologize for the changing of the angle, I have my battery in there, so it's a little hard to do. It's not a long, thick charger. It's actually a charger from my GoPro that I no longer have because the battery on that decided to finally bite the dust, and by biting the dust it affected my GoPro as well. So yeah, there's not much I could have done there. But anyway, like I said, on to the second topic, essentially. And yeah, basically this one, like I said, has to deal with mostly what I'm going through and everything transportation wise to get to work. And what I mean by that is there was word going around last year that things might be changing route wise. We weren't too sure exactly what was going on. There was talk apparently, and there's a tour bus that just stopped off in our parking lot here at my job, but there was talk apparently of them taking out some of the routes in Newman and just focusing primarily like on Patterson and just a little itch on my nose if you're wondering, focusing more on Patterson and Crow's Landing and stuff. And obviously when they did like a town meeting about changes, everybody made it very clear that, yeah, that ain't going to happen. You ain't going to take, Newman, out of the equation, as well as not take Gustine out of the equation. But it looks like Gustine is going to be taken out of the equation because apparently there's I guess you could say, a loophole that was found. And that loophole basically states that since Gustine is part of Merced County, and Merced County has its own bus service, that it should be Merced County's responsibility to service that area, as well as the areas it, transfers into, like Turlock and, whatnot, instead of, instead of StanRTA, the START bus, the S bus, the Stanislaus County San Joaquin bus, instead of, us basically, serving, our county's buses serving Gustine. It should be the Gustine buses serving them. So yeah, basically that was, I think, part of the arrangement. That, from here on in, StanRTA will not be serving Gustine starting March 5th. Instead, Gustine will be serviced by the Merced County buses instead. Now, with that said, with that brought up, how does this affect me? Well, it was also announced that starting March 5th, things are going to get more, I guess you can say, streamlined across the bus fortress, if you will. Things are going to get more streamlined across the bus fortress as we speak. And what I mean by more streamlined, basically, a lot of the routes, that we have right now, are going to change. Some are going to be slight changes. Some are going to be, no changes at all. And some are going to be and some are going to be basically merged together and given new route numbers and in areas, stuff like that. So there are going to be, like I said, some slight changes to some of the routes, modified, if you will. Some of the routes are not going to have any changes, and some are going to be basically renumbered and changed up to a point to where you'll still get to your destination. And all that, but it might be in a different means, like a different route you'll be taking, kind of deal. So how that affects me is mainly the fact that 45 west and east are going to merge into just the 45. And what that does as well, by merging just into the 45, is it's going to focus more on Patterson, Crow's Landing, Newman, and Turlock. And how it works when it deals with Newman, is the fact that instead, basically the route, pretty much, with the exception of Gustine, is going to be pretty much the same. It's pretty much going to be the same. So, for example, when they come into Newman, the new main stop, because the main stop, when they're going, through Newman and going to Gustine, the main resting spot there, for at least 8 to 10 minutes or something like that, is, Gustine. It's the Gustine Park or something like that. It's like a park area in Gustine. So that's like the main resting area. So when it comes to Newman now, instead, it's going to be the park, the first major stop in Newman, which is Amy and Driscoll. That's what it's going to be. Amy and Driscoll, the first major stop there, which is a park, is going to be, the new resting area when they come into Newman. Like when they're leaving Patterson, going through Crow's Landing and everything, the major stop is going to be, the first major stop anyway, like I said, is going to be, for resting and all that, will be the park at Amy and Driscoll in Newman. Then after that, they're going to go from there to Merced and Eucalyptus. They're going to go straight down the street like they've been doing. They're going to turn onto Merced, if you will. They're going to turn onto Merced and everything. And then from Merced, they're going to go down the street and then turn onto Inyo. That's what they're going to do. So basically, like I said, they're going to stop on Amy and Driscoll as the first major stop for a little bit of rest. Then they're going to go from there to Merced and everything, to Merced and Eucalyptus, go down Merced, and then when they get to Merced, they're going to turn onto the main street there, the main Highway 33, the end street, if you will. And then from there, they're going to go and they're going to turn onto Inyo, and then that's how they'll pick me up and drop me off eventually. Now, how this works in relation to getting to work here and everything, that's kind of a story in itself, because apparently when they come to Turlock, they're not going to be coming down Countryside Road anymore. Instead, that's going to be given to Route 10. And again, this is what I'm assuming, unless things change, unless they make an announcement that things are going to, change a little bit to where, 45 will still do Countryside Road in Monte Vista. Again, this is unless things change. What I'm understanding by looking up the map and looking at the routes, Route 10 is going to be the new Countryside Drive and Monte Vista bus that I take to get home. Now, I don't take it all the way home, though, because, like I said, when the 45 changes into this new direction, it's going to basically, like I said, when it comes to Turlock, it's going to basically, long story short, it's going to stop at the stop area near North Hawley Road and Forkworth Road, because there's a stop there, and instead of going to the left, which would be coming to Countryside, it's going to go to the right, and that's going to lead them towards the transit center. Now, I could be wrong, but the way the map is describing it, that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, again, how that relates to me is basically the fact that I'm going to be boarding the 10 from now on, starting March 5th or around that time frame. I'm going to be boarding the 10 to go from my job to the transit center, and then from the transit center, I'm going to basically head over and transfer to the 45, which will go from the transit center to Turlock. Not Turlock, but to Patterson and then Newman. That's the plan, from what I'm understanding. That is the plan. That it's going to go from basically the 10 is going to go. And basically, it's going to go from here, from the bus stop over here, right where the Polo Loco is, where I'm pointing. It's going to go from there to the transit center, and then I'm going to transfer from the transit center over to the 45. That'll take me back to Patterson and then Newman and so on. So that's about it. And again, the reason they're doing this is to make it more streamlined, to make it more, I guess you could say, easier for passengers and even the drivers to relate to, basically, or to adjust to. Also, I think personally, in my opinion, is to prevent the bus drivers, from taking extended breaks. In other words, it's like, hey, you gotta keep going. You can take your break, but you can't keep, stalling and everything. I think that's why when I look at the first major stop being at the park at Amy and Driscoll for them when they get to Newman, that's basically, the StanRTA's way of saying, yeah, you got nothing near you there to go shopping for, guys, so guess what? You just got to rest up there, maybe use the facilities if they got one there, and then get on the bus and get back on the road. That's basically what I think it is, too. I think it's done to make sure that the bus drivers, don't delay the routes or anything, and there's no issues. Also, I think it's being done to make sure that whatever bus drivers are driving these routes, aren't late either, because it will not be, because the thing is, if they're late, especially if the main transfer point is the transit center, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. And we're not just talking the Turlock Transit Center as being like the main transfer point. We're also talking the Modesto one as well. So yeah, basically basically the new routes are going to be more simplified, more streamlined, and in my opinion, more or less an answer to not just the passengers of getting them to the destination without an issue, but also a way of telling the bus drivers, yeah, you guys are going to have to start timing yourselves a lot better. Like, if you got to use the restroom, use it, get on the bus, go. Don't even think about going to a restaurant or anything like that, or don't even think of going to, a gas station and anything like that. Use the restroom and go, and that's it. So I think that's why basically this is happening as well. I think that's why this is, happening as well, in my opinion. But yeah, this is something new when it comes to the bus service and all that. So I can't, so I'm looking forward to it in a way to see how much it's going to change and how much of an adjustment it's going to be for me and such. I know people watching this and maybe even listening to it later on have probably gone through something similar with their bus routes as they take the buses to wherever they need to get to. I'm pretty sure you guys have dealt with something similar to where it's like, you have to change, your area. Excuse me, while I check something for a second, guys. Make sure everything is charging. It is. Okay, just making sure things are charging. But again, I'm pretty sure you guys have had to deal with it on several occasions yourself, to where, essentially you've had to readjust to the changing of a bus route and schedule because, of reasons, maybe because passengers were late getting to their destinations, maybe because of the fact that the drivers were not, being on time when they should, and things like that. So, I know a lot of you could probably relate with that, and I appreciate the fact that you do. But yeah, this is something that I think has been a long time in the making for the past several years. It's been a long time in the making. And I can guarantee you this too. This is just my opinion. This is just my opinion on it. I can guarantee you right now that the bus drivers, some of them will appreciate the new streamlining, the new, the more streamlined, more, I guess you could say, what's the word I use? More streamlined, more, safer, more secure routes that they're going to be going, the more quicker solutions, if you will, because each route apparently is timed by an hour. Yeah, the time by an hour. So in other words, and again, that does tie into what I said earlier. That does tie into what I said earlier. That, and I'm just checking the percentage there on my battery. It's charging right now, but that does tie into what I said earlier, as well as check the time because I got about 16 minutes before I have to clock in. But it does tie into what I said earlier of the fact that basically, because, okay, I almost lost that. Hold on. Okay, rewind there. Almost lost target time because I'm trying to check my time so I don't be late clocking in. But anyway, like I said, with it now being like a 1 hour loop for each, for the entire day, like 1 hour going to each area. Well, not each area, but to get there within an hour of the last time you're there. Basically, like when they go to the transit center over here in Turlock, one of the times is 5:52, and then the next time they show up, there's 6:52. So basically, it's to make sure you get you utilize that 1 hour time, accordingly and responsibly. And again, as I was mentioning before I lost my train of thought there, I think that's another reason why they're doing this whole 1 hour deal now, is to, again, tying into what I said earlier, is to make sure the drivers don't delay themselves and they don't, lose track of time, because now they're going to have to time themselves with their breaks and even their lunches, because they're going to be like, oh crap, now I gotta because I guarantee you, some might enjoy it. Some of the drivers might enjoy it and appreciate it because now they have an exact time, like an exact time and goal as to what they have to do and what they have to accomplish. But also the fact that there are going to be some that won't be happy about it because they're going to be like, oh, great. So now I can't even go to the store or go over to this little restaurant and get an order or something like that. Now I just have to basically time myself and get back on the road when they want me to. Oh, great. Not a lot of them are going to appreciate that, and that's understandable. But if it's going to help improve the service, for the consumer, for the passengers that pay, $2 a day for all day pass or $10 for a week pass or whatever, if it's going to adjust and make the service better for them, then so be it. And also, if it's going to help people like me save on money when it comes to getting back home, then so be it too, because apparently the weekend schedule is going to get extended a couple of hours, thank the Lord, to where if I get off at 5:45 on a Saturday, starting in March, like I've been doing, I don't have to worry about, boarding Lyft. All I have to do is board the 10, get to the Turlock Transit Center, board the 45, and head home. And that's it. End of story. And that is something that I felt that they were going to end up doing anyway, because it basically doesn't make sense to shorten a day, which is Saturday, if you know there's going to be a lot of people still wanting to find a way home if they don't take the bus. So I'm glad they've adjusted that and they fixed that. And on top of that, they've added Sunday to the route. Now, I know some people may not be cool with a Sunday route, but guess what? There are people that go out on Sunday. There are people that get scheduled to work on Sunday. So if I end up working on a Sunday, guess what? I don't have to worry about calling in and saying, yeah, I don't have no transportation, or worry about a freaking Lyft or Uber coming to pick me up, because I'll be able to get here in plenty of time, hopefully. The only thing I think I may have to concern myself with, if you will, is basically probably fixing the tires on my bike and using my bike to ride from the Folkworth stop all the way down here to my job, which shouldn't be an issue. But I could also power walk my way here, especially if I'm scheduled to come in later. But yeah, things are changing bus-wise for the positive, and I cannot, like I said, I cannot wait to try it out to see if it's going to be workable, or if it's going to be something that, may not be, lasting long, and it may end up causing them to go back to what they currently are doing. We'll see. But now with that said, let's get on to our last topic. I got about 11 minutes before I have to clock in, so I can do this real quickly. Let's get on to our last topic at 33 minutes and 10 seconds. And that is the fact that there are some fans still on social media, like Twitter, that are not happy with Ian Flynn and what he did to Sally Acorn about a decade plus ago with the whole Mecca Sally deal. It's like basically, as talked about in his shipping edition of the Bumblecast Q&A on Valentine's Day, it's like he basically built up the relationship, he rebuilt the relationship of Sonic and Sally back to a romantic level, taking baby steps to do so, only to have it snatched away when the Mecca Sally deal happened. And not a lot of people are still thrilled about that, because it's like, why? Why would you do this? Why would you go this route? Why would you make things this dark? And to me, basically, I understand where people are coming from, because I've made it perfectly clear when I was reading the book that I was not going to read a single issue until it was all said and done. And I kept my promise, and I did just that. But I can understand where people come from, because I wasn't thrilled with this, this direction he went with this, because what sense did it make? You had Nicole, who's a powerful AI. You could have had her basically recalibrate the cannon to blast into the middle of the sky and blast nothing, and thus waste its energy, and Sally could have been fine. But he didn't do that. And yes, he had a possible justified reason that, hey, Sally's back, and that the Sally that's back was always the Sally that would put herself before her people, sacrificially, to protect them, and that's what she did. But still, it just really bothered a lot of folks, of how he went, the fact of how he went about it, and then what he had Eggman do in story to Sally afterwards. And a lot of people, and at first, as I've said before, I was defensive against it, thinking there's no way that he would have Eggman do it, just based on the way, he was having Eggman like measure her and everything. But the more I thought about it, the more I agreed that, yeah, it did seem like Ian Flynn, off panel and in story, when he had Eggman weaponize Sally, basically gutted her. He basically had Eggman gut her, basically rip her apart, and and essentially rebuild her into what she was, a weaponized version. And there are a lot of people like Glitcher, I think that's his name, Glitcher, at DeviantArt, that does the Sonic Retold story webcomic, which is basically a darker version of some stories seen in Archie Sonic, like the Mecha Sally one. And Glitcher even added in a scene to where Eggman, and I'm surprised when I think about it, Ian didn't go this far, and I think maybe he planned to, but didn't want to, because he knew, or changed his mind in doing so, because he knew he'd probably get in a lot more trouble than what he was. But Glitcher had a scene added into this darker version to where Eggman basically took the parts of Sally's original body that was roboticized and burnt them, basically melted them down. So, yeah, a lot of people see that, and, they can only imagine that if Ian had a little bit more free will, a little bit more freelancing, that he would have probably done the same thing. Which is why this is still a sticking point. It's like, to them, it just did not make sense, and it did not need to be. And even if he was going to go in the direction, as a lot of people pointed out, he didn't have to have it go as long as he did. He could have just had it go for like 6 issues, 8 issues, 10 issues at most, and that's it. Maybe even a year at the latest, but that's it, and then be done with it. But, that didn't happen. And what pisses people off even more, even to this day, is the fact that, we never got a true conclusion to it officially. Yes, we got a conclusion to it in the Archie Sonic Online continuation, taking inspirations off his Lost Hitchhik Tale notes and everything. But after that, we didn't get any, but besides that, I should say, not after that, but besides that, we didn't get any true official, confirmation that, she was going to get restored. Yeah, she got restored because of the reboot, the soft retcon and everything, the changing of the world storyline wise, post Super Genesis Wave and post Worlds Collide. Yeah, she did get changed back and everything and streamlined to look more like a Sega Genesis character, but still, it's like we didn't get any true resolution. Yeah, she got her memories back from the old world and seen what she had become and did, and even still had some lingering thoughts about it and wanted to make up for everything she had done, but that was about it. And again, like I said, what really gets people pissed off is that Ian Flynn had all the opportunity to end the story as quickly as he could have, in a shorter time than he could have, and get her back to normal, at least give her back her free will, but he never did. And that's what pissed a lot of people off, and they're still ticked about it, which is why they still feel, untrustworthy of Ian when it comes to certain scenarios, even in the IDW book, like with Tangle and Whisper's tension right now, and so on. This is why they hated the whole Metal Virus arc. It's like, that didn't need to be, as dark as it was, but yet it was. And again, it caused a lot of fan favorite characters, even in-game characters, and even more popular newer ones like Tangled, to get roboticized or zombified, and it pissed people off. They didn't like it. They hated it, because it reminded them of what happened previously in Archie with the Mecha Sally one, or the Mecha Sally arc, I should say. So yeah, I can understand why, looking at a lot of tweets and, messages across social media, why fans still feel, untrustworthy of Ian and everything because of what he did a decade plus ago. Because, even though it was a decade plus ago, it's still a major sticking point to them. And unless Ian Flynn can prove, hey, I'm not going to go and do stuff like that again, or tease it, they're not going to trust him. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah, a decade plus later, what Ian did to Sally with the whole Mecha Sally thing is still a major sticking point and sore spot for them. And I think Ian I think he knows that. I think he knows that, and hopefully he's learned from that, from their point of view, and even mine. But anyway, though, guys, that's going to do it for this mini topics on my mind. You know, I know it went a lot longer than it should have, so I do apologize for that. I do got to get into work now, guys. It's about 12:56 p.m. Pacific time, so I got to get into work now, guys. But let me know what your thoughts are overall. Comment if you like. You will hopefully get an audio stream of this, or an audio version of this, in my BW Roses Discussions podcast. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are overall. Like I said, I got to get into work now. And until then, take care of yourselves. God bless. Have a good day. But yeah, you will get an audio version of this at BW Roses Discussions. Also support me at Venmo at Brian-Roman-2, Cash App at BW Roses 98. And check out the Teespring store as well. But until next time, guys, I am out. Have a good day.